Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. Tonight I'm going to be doing a movie review. Now this movie was released in 2009. It's an American horror comedy directed by D. Carey Pryor, and this movie is called The Revenant. Now The Revenant, the story is as follows. The night after his funeral, Bart, a soldier killed in Iraq, gets up out of his grave and seeks out his best friend Joey. At dawn, Bart's body falls to the floor, only to reawaken the following dusk. He and his buddy decide that he is a revenant, an articulate zombie that needs to drink blood to arrest the decomposition of his body. So it's a very bizarre story. It basically takes place in Iraq at the start of the movie, and this is where we're introduced to the main character, Bart. Bart is a Marine, and he is on night patrol. And he ends up running into trouble on this patrol, and as a result, he is shot through the head and killed immediately. So his body is shipped back to the United States, where where his grieving best friend and fiancée are waiting for his body. They end up having the funeral, but before Bart's body is buried, he ends up waking up. Now, this is out of nowhere. No one knows what's going on. It's not really explained. But all Bart knows is that he's breathing again and that he can talk. But when he looks in the mirror, he is horribly decomposed, and it's getting worse. He is literally falling to pieces. So he has to come up with a plan very quickly. So he goes to his best friend Joey's house, and this is where he wants to get the help from him. Joey initially thinks that he's hallucinating, that he's taken some kind of bad drug, or that he's dreaming. Bart eventually convinces him that it's very real and that he really does need his help. So they come to the conclusion that in order for Bart to maintain his strength, he needs to feast on human blood. But this proves a dilemma because Bart doesn't want to slaughter innocent people just for the blood. He doesn't see himself as a monster. He just wants to get strong again so he can be with the love of his life, who he suddenly, become apart from. So they end up coming to an agreement that they're going to pick off the crime off the streets. Basically, rapists, murderers, drug dealers, all the lowlifes in the LA streets. So they regard themselves as vigilantes, and they end up wiping out all the crime. And as a result, Bart is becoming more and more stronger. But as the film progresses, the tensions between Joey and Bart and the line between right and wrong is getting very, very vague. And as a result, it proves to be a little bit too much for the two best friends as the fiancé starts coming into the picture. So if you want to know how this unfolds, it's something you're going to have to find out for yourself, but hopefully that synopsis has left enough interest for you to go out there and have a look at this one. Now my thoughts on the movie. I actually hired this one because of all the hype that's surrounding it. A lot of good reviews. It's been regarded as a classic horror comedy, so already the bar was raised at a very high level. And that, unfortunately, was its downbringing. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a decent film. I'm not saying it's bad, but considering all the hype that it was surrounding it, I actually expected it to be a lot better than it actually was. Now, for a horror comedy, it just wasn't that funny, and for a horror comedy, there just wasn't that much gore. So going into it and at the end of it, yes, it's a good movie, but it's not very memorable at all because movies in the past that, Slither, Dead Snow, they do horror comedy much better because not only is the script more funnier, but there's also some very good over-the-top gore. And that's what was lacking from this film for me to really enjoy it. Now, the unique storyline is the biggest plus of this one. It's not a remake. It's not lazy filmmaking. There was a lot of time and effort that went into this one. So the script was very good. However, unfortunately, there were a lot of cheap laughs in it. A lot of F words for the F word's sake. And I feel that it's not very intelligent humor. Now, I'm not being a snob saying I only like intelligent humor, but just saying the F word here and there is okay, but when it becomes more and more frequent, it just gets a little bit stale, and I actually think, it's gutter humor, and that is not very hard to achieve as far as filmmaking is concerned. Now, having said that criticism, my massive criticism of it is halfway through it just gets really silly, and I feel that the director completely drops the ball on this one, and it was basically a time filler. Now, it was 117 minutes long. After about 90 minutes, it's like the director ran out of material and just made it as ridiculous as possible just to fill up the quota of time. Some bad special effects here and there. Some of the special effects were decent, but in other parts it was very cheap looking. And just what happens in it, I'm not going to tell you what happens, but the events that occur at the end of the film were just ridiculous, and I just thought that it had a decent build-up, but the reward was not very satisfying at the end. The acting was decent. I actually thought attention to the character development was good. I actually thought, these characters separated themselves from one another with some good background. But as I said, just for a horror comedy, it could have and should have been a lot better than it actually was. I am going to give this 3 out of 5. It's not a terrible film, but don't go into it thinking you're going to get a masterpiece like a lot of people say. It does have its flaws, but thankfully there is enough positive for me to say go out there and give this one a go, because it's at least a rental. But, you never know. Someone out there might love it a lot more, than I actually liked it. So, hopefully that synopsis has left things a little bit clearer, as to whether or not you want to go and watch it. So, yeah, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you later.